A reading from St. John's Gospel, chapter 10. Jesus said, "Very truly I tell you, anyone who does not enter the sheepfold by the gate, but climbs in by another way, is a thief and a bandit. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gates for him, and the sheep hear his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. They will not follow a stranger, but they will run from him, because they do not know the voice of strangers." Jesus used this figure of speech with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. So again Jesus said to them, "Very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and bandits, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters by me will be saved, and will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly." Almost all Western countries proudly declare that their societies are pluralistic while accepting and including everybody and every idea. Certainly, pluralism helps to keep harmonious and safe societies. But when it comes to the salvation of souls, I wonder if we can indiscriminately apply pluralism. We have been quite used to this pluralistic or relativistic idea of salvation for a long time. More and more Christians, especially Catholics, embrace this idea. Well, I was born into this Catholicism and I don't have much problem with it. I love Jesus, but I don't think this is the only way to salvation. If you choose another religion, I am sure it will lead you to salvation too. God is generous and loving, so He will accept you. Even if you're atheist, that may be fine too. If God is loving, He should take care of atheists too. I doubt if someone is actually interested in salvation when he declares all religions can lead to salvation. And when I hear a Catholic claim that God will save all good people regardless of their religions, I wonder whether there is any need for Christ. What I observe is this. When people offer these pluralistic or relativistic ideas of salvation, they attempt either to pacify their anxiety or to avoid the question of salvation itself or to satisfy other people of different religions. In many places in the Gospel, Christ declares that He is the singular way to salvation. He does not leave much room to interpret otherwise. On salvation, there are two things Jesus is very clear about: that He is the only way to salvation, and that His flesh and blood are necessary for salvation. Today's Gospel shows Jesus presents Himself as the only gate to salvation. He makes it clear that He is not just one of the many gates, but the only gate. Then we may ask what He means by this entry through Him. To be baptized, or to acknowledge Him as one's Savior, or to go to church every day? He means by this. On other places in the Gospel, Jesus teaches the way to salvation is narrow and difficult. Many people choose the wide and easy way to perdition. Some attempt to walk the narrow and difficult path, but only a few will finally make it. Only with God's help it is possible. Why is the way so hard? In his letter, St. Peter encourages the faithful. If you endure when you do right and suffer for it, you have God's approval. For to this you have been called, because Christ also suffered for you, leaving you an example so that you should follow in his steps. Christ suffered for all mankind, although he was without sin, and through his suffering he offered his flesh and blood for our redemption. The only way we arrive at salvation is to be like Christ by suffering and self-giving. To be like him includes not only following his example of self-giving by suffering, but also being united with him by receiving his body and blood. We know many disciples of Christ left him because this teaching of eating his flesh and drinking his blood was hard to accept. We know many disciples abandoned him because suffering with him was too painful. But that's the only way Jesus teaches us. Salvation is given only to a few. The teaching is clear, but the way is narrow and difficult. If I have to walk all alone by myself, I won't be able to make it there by any means. That's why we want to be one with Christ. What happened to the disciples when they were struggling in the sea? Jesus said, "It is I, do not be afraid." They were glad and took him to the boat. And immediately the boat was at the land to which they were going.